All right, let's get into the questions. The first one is from Anomaly Research Labs. It's always quite interesting that people don't realize sometimes your question, or not even your question, your tag or the name you go by and the things you put in your profile can tell us quite a lot about you. So your name is Anomaly Research Labs, right? If I may go first, is it right or wrong to be homosexual and to act on those instincts? Okay, so the first thing is, right up front, we, Musbatu, Sabians, we are not homophobic, number one. Number two, you have to ask yourself, who are you? Because are you a Nuwapian? Are you a Sabian? Are you a Nuwabian? Because in our culture, we have ways, just like if you said I was a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or whatever you belong to, like atheist, whatever, you will have what that organization, system, whatever, subscribes to, right? So are you asking that question as a Nuwapian or somebody outside of that? If you're outside of that, and even if you are a Nuwapian, the reason I say if you're a Nuwapian is because we have things like the 33 commandments of the Sabians, yeah? Where, and we have others that define and govern what we do in our culture. And outside of that, you are free to choose and do whatever you subscribe to. And it's not of our business what you do with yourself in terms of sexuality. All right. However, if you are Sabian or you're subscribing to wu-sabat, I'll read this from slate number 2, page 2. 1. I cannot marry my Hareyu parents. 2. I cannot marry my Shakaku siblings. 3. I cannot marry my Mukradu children. 4. This is the one that answers the question, right? I, as a Muswal, male people, man, physically and spiritually, cannot marry a man who is a man physically and spiritually. 5. I, as a Muswaltat, female people, woman, physically and spiritually, cannot marry a woman who is a woman physically and spiritually. 6. I, as a Mu'man, human, cannot have any kind of sexual activity with a Muhiat, animal, or Dubab, beast. 7. I, as a Mu'ash, male, can marry more than one spouse. 8. I can marry Mushkatatu, sisters of the same Moisar family. 9. I can divorce from my Munshayatat spouse for good reason when it's only when it's confirmed. 10. I can marry a Munshayatat spouse older or younger than myself within physical reason according to the Fatir al-Fatar-u, natural nature's rules. 11. There is no such thing as a female physically being a virgin by natural nature. 12. Bathal lay. Virginity is the state before any act of sexual contact is performed for the first time. 13. I will not rape or force anyone to have any kind of sexual contact. 14. I will not fornicate or commit adultery. I will not abort a Mukradu child intentionally. 16. I do not have boyfriends. 17, I do not have girlfriends. 18, I don't go on blind dates. 19, I can remarry once divorced. 20, I don't blame my mate for my lack of self-upkeep. 21, in a marriage, Salal race does not matter as long as the partner accepts our Hadab culture. 22, a Muzwaltat, female people woman, is entitled to a proper wedding for her wishes. 23, women are Vanastasu, feminine, and men are Rujula, masculine, in all ways, starting with outer and underdress and appearance. 24, Tanshu, marriage is a lifetime covenant, not a temporary contract. 25, remember what you use to attract him or her, don't lose it. 26, Mozwal, male people, man, have to look good as well as not just Mozwal tat, female people, woman. Take care of your khatat, body. 27, Murojal'u, men, masculines, have to help raise the mukradu, children. 28, don't have more than one munshayatat, wife, without seeking the approval of your first munshayatat, wife. 29, don't have more munshaytatu, wives, than you can afford to support. 30, men and women are equal in the muklun, home. Do your part, men. 31, Muzwaltatu, women are not slave workers for men. 32, talk to know each other's inside shayur at feelings before nashay, marriage. 33, Janas, sex is not marar, love. Truth is truth. Okay, so that deals with that point, number 4 being the main one. And over the times, the Master has given us many jewels to govern and guide us. So we also have the Partarak called the sexual commandments, if I can find it, yeah, that goes into detail, and so does the Nuwapian man, specifically because you're a man by the sound of your question. But there's another Partarak I'm gonna look for, see if there's a bit more I can give you. This, no, that's not it. So whilst I'm looking for it, so some other guidelines were we stay out of people's bedrooms, right? It's not our business what people do or choose to do in their bedrooms. We are not homophobic. We do not gay bash and all that stuff. Everyone, also there is the doctrine of beings that don't know their sexuality, or they don't know about, you know, having a physical male body and having a spiritual, a soul, your spirit being a female, and vice versa, where you could be a physical female but have a male spirit. And sometimes this causes confusion in people because they feel like a woman on the inside if they have a female spirit, or they feel like a man on the inside if they have a male spirit, and yet they are and they are female. But you get it. So I'm trying to find the part. Tarak, give me one more second to go through these ones. Yeah, here you go. Right, so this one is called Wu Nawat, Commandments on Sexual Violations. which touches on, you know, how we interact with the opposite sex and what we do and what's acceptable and what is not. Okay. Okay, let me read a little bit from page 1. I'll read from verse 7. You are a deity in jasad, flesh. 8. You will be a deity once this flesh is dematerialized. 9. You are a girl becoming a asha, female, at your first ovulation. A boy becoming a ayash, male, at his first erection. A female becomes a woman at her first orgasm. A male becomes a man at his first ejaculation. A woman becomes a mother with her first child. A man becomes a father with his first child. The female is the divine seed of our race, as she holds the mitochondrial DNA. 12. These are your commandments to avoid the evil ones who seek to take your very soul. 13. And lead you into wickedness. 14. For these things are wicked and must be opposed. Fornication, adultery, and seduction, that which degrades motherhood. 16. Lies, disloyalty, and deceit, for they serve the divine. They sever the divinity. 17. Unclean ways and lewd behavior and speech, for they corrupt the ka'ah, spirit, and lead along the path of unwholesomeness. 18. Unclean and unhealthy intakes, for they cause the body disease, sickness, and illness of all kinds, which weakens the akal, mind, and distracts the soul. 19. By these commandments shall all Nuwapians live. 20. The worst of them is violated when the lunar is full, having an effect on the human tabi'al taba, natural nature. And the worst of them is also violated when the lunar is hiding, an effect on the human blood-lusting nocturnal habits called a vampire. All right. So again, that just touches. Let me carry on for a little bit more because there's a bit I want to touch on as well. 21. The children of the evil, mudwa'u, evil ones, devils, demons, ghouls, witches, and warlocks. Have we got a call? Oh, let me just finish this one. Warlocks, sorcerers, wizards of Druidism, Wiccanism, and Satanism. 22. They do their evils by day and night. 23. To seek your very ba'ah, soul, to feed 6 etheric forces from beyond this world. Some came down, others come up. 24. These evil, wicked forces speak to your taf'at, emotions. 25. Appealing to lower desires. 26. Attracting to your lust and greed. 27. Lust is not janus, sex, as sex is not being lustful. 28. There is to be 24 elders over Tahar, earth, Remus, Mirat. By these commandments shall all Nuwapians live, overpower those 6 evil forces. And I'll leave it there and we take the live call. Rahubat, first caller, live caller. What's your name, where you're calling from, and what's your question for today, please?
Rahubat Zamal, my name is Liz. I have a question regarding Telegram. So I'm new to Telegram, so I feel like sometimes I don't navigate it correctly. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the navigation for Telegram, please?
Rahubat Zamatat, and thank you for your question. Yes, I think sometimes we take it for granted that everyone's familiar with Telegram. Telegram is an app just like WhatsApp, which most people may be familiar with. And so when we say join our Telegram group on our calls, you would first of all have to go to your your app store, or or the Play Store if you're on Android, App Store if you're on the iPhone or iOS operating system, and you just search Telegram Messenger. The icon is a blue kite, like a blue and white kite, and you download the app and then install it. You go through the process. It's very simple and very quick. All you have to do is put your number, your cell mobile phone number, and then go through the security in terms of they may send you a message or code or something. Once you've done that, you now have the app installed on your phone. So when you click on the link that we post in the chat, our official Telegram group, like it's posted in there already, says join the official wu-sabat Telegram for live updates and direct access to student teachers. When you click on that, it will automatically take you to the OSM Ask Us Anything Telegram group. And once you arrive, of course, being the first time, or if you've never used Telegram before, there are messages that are pinned up right at the top of the screen. It says pinned messages. All right. So first thing you would do is click on those messages, because they give you like a welcome and just like basic guides of how to use the platform. One of them being how to search. There's a video that shows you how to search for questions or any information that you're looking for, because the Telegram group has been going for some years now, and it's got a lot of useful information. All the questions that people have asked and all the questions that student teachers have already answered, and provided references of books and images and telegrams and links to videos, etc. So it's a good way to kind of get an orientation for the platform by searching. So if you want to find out anything, first thing you should do is just search if that question has already been answered. You can use one word. You could search something like, I don't know, Jesus, God, whatever, and then you will get a list of references that have been found relating to that particular phrase, word that you've searched. And then you may have your answer already asked and answered. And then if you want to ask a question yourself, you literally go into the chat like we have on the YouTube here and we have on many platforms, on WhatsApp, etc. You click on it and you just type your question. If you want to address your question to somebody in particular, you can just find their name in the Telegram by clicking at the top the name of the group, and you will see a list of all the people in the group, and you can just find somebody. And sometimes people have their security on because of privacy, so you may not be able to contact them directly, but people also look at who's chatting in the group, and sometimes they get your name or your handle from there and may try and send you messages. If you come across anybody trying to spam you or approach you for some other reason other than why you're there, people try to sell you crypto or all kinds of things, and just report them in the group and the admin will remove them or deal with them. As we're growing, we're getting more and more people coming on there to try and exploit, people in the group. So be mindful, but the admins, as long as you bring it to their attention, they will remove them quite swiftly. Was there anything else in particular about Telegram that you would like to know? Because I think I've covered it quite well. If not, we can elaborate.
Oh, no, that was very helpful. Thank you so much. You answered all of my questions. Tau Tech.
And Tata Thiarafu. Wadi. Okay, right, let's get back to the questions in the chat. So Anomaly Research Labs, you were first, as you say, if I may go first. Is it right or wrong to be homosexual and to act on those instincts? Now, one last thing I want to say on that is, who even says, or where did you get the concept of right or wrong, and who says is right or wrong? Because really, it's religion that has pushed that whole homophobic and all this kind of stuff, because the people that don't really fully understand what the city of Sodom and Gomorrah were about, they think it was about homosexuality when it actually wasn't about that. And the whole thing about us as Sabians dealing with love and unity and wu-sabat is that we don't hate anybody for whatever reason. Years ago, the master teacher put out a recording called "To Hate is a Sin," right? Meaning, like, you know, every living sentient being on the planet has, you know, their reason for being here and their purpose, and it's really not for us to be judging or being judgmental to other people's. The thing is, I say sexual preference. I remember we did that video that went viral with the priest that was gay, and he came on our platform, and we were asking questions. If we can find it, we'll put the reference in the chat. But you know, I said sexual preference, and he said no, sexual orientation. See, words, you can play with words, because orientation means what? You orient, or you search, or your preference, or you lean to that direction. So I know he was really coming from a place of it being, I suppose he was trying to say it could be genetically, or almost like you don't have control over it, or it's not a choice. But everything we do, apart from involuntary actions, are really choices. All right, but let's take the next call. Rahubat, greeting caller. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question for today?
My name is Kerith Muir from Jamaica.
Greetings, Rahubat. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a few questions. My first one is, okay, so we've covered this question already, but I want to know, like, so as a 9-ether being, if I have sexual relations with a 7-ether or 6-ether woman, I would lose some of my chakras or energy. So if I leave that partner and I spend a lot of time in the sun recharging my nervous system, will those 2 extra chakras that I lost come back?
Okay, so the thing about the dropping and raising, you can regain, but it's not just based on you lying in the sun, because the whole point of the mixing is exchange of bodily fluids, right? And when you think about it, if you think about a ladder, right? A ladder that has 9 steps, and you are 9. If you come down to the steps below 9, you're going to go to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to get to the bottom. So it's like, it's common sense. Sorry, excuse me. Common sense that if you drop down, then the person or the people below you are going to be able to reach you. So if somebody was on 5 or 6 and you were on 9, they can't reach you because you're too far ahead, right? So you have to come down to their level. So when you're exchanging bodily fluids with people that are on lower ethers than you, then they're gaining and you are losing. It's the same way that if you are going up and you're pulling them along with you, they're going to come up. So there are rituals, and like if you read the scrolls, like the Lotus of Life, on, you know, the Sacred Feminine, the Gospel of Yanun, that will give you information in regard to exactly what takes place in terms of the mixing. And we have the mixing. We have other scrolls as well that go into that. 30 spirits, soul, spirit, part of that. So yeah, it's not just about laying in the sun. If you were, let's say, to go back with a Nagaru female, that's 9 ether, then she will be able to, like you say, recharge you or activate you and pull you back up. You see, so
Yes, but I have a question about that. So,
yeah.
but since I lost some of my chakras to a
Wait,
six ether or
no,
seven ether
some. What I'm
woman,
saying is one of them. So if you are, yeah, okay, go on. Yeah, you could lose more, but yeah, if you are 9, you lose downwards to wherever you go to.
so if I become an 8 ether or 7 ether from the mixing with the 7 ether, then when I get with a nine ether woman, wouldn't she lose when she gets with me?
No, because she's 9, right? So she's not losing. It's the Nagaru female loses when she goes with, let's say, an Adamite that is lower than her.
Yes, but I am now lower than her because I mixed with
Yeah,
a
but that's what
6
I'm
ether
saying.
woman.
If you're lower than her, she's gonna pull you up.
And she doesn't lose in the process.
No, because you're not okay. If you have, let's say, 9 and she has 9, you're on the same level. She's not losing her 9 because she's getting with you, because she's gonna reactivate and recharge you and pull you up, and then you're gonna be back to 9, and you both will be on 9, which is it's about the balance between the two. See, if two people are equal, it's balanced. If one is less, then the one that is less is drawing from the one that is high, and vice versa. Because if you're Nagaru and you're 9 and you go down with going to, say, an Adamite, then she's going to draw from you. And it's the same with the female. If a female Nagaru is on 9 and she goes with a Mukasu or an Adamite who is 5, of course he's going to be gaining from her 9 because he's got 4 steps to get to be 9. You follow?
Yes.
There's something, if I can find it, I will read to you as well. I'll look for it in the meantime, and even if you come off the line, I'll still try and read it. But you said you had another question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so this one can be a quick yes or no answer. I mean, like, so if I reincarnate, will I reincarnate or come back with the exact same personality I had in a previous life?
No, because we have to, when you read 30 spirits and understand or understand what the spirit, when you say personality, you're really dealing with your spirit. So spirits can be recycled, or it may be a new spirit embedded with the other parts of you. So it's not necessarily going to be the same spirit that is in you. So that's your personality.
But what about my personal personality?
That's what I'm saying. You lose all signs of what you're considering personality when you're going, because in the rising and leaving here, you actually shed the I identity of the me, myself, and I, which is what happens when we are on. We as when you're down here, we get caught up in the people, places, and things, and individualism. So we lose all of that because we are becoming one as we go up. So you do lose that. You lose like the individualism, all the things that make you as in individual, because like when you deal with like mind and the higher levels, so you're merging. So when you come back, it's not necessarily going to be the same components that you left with.
So if I want to have a certain kind of personality, it would be important to reincarnate to certain kinds of parents, right?
It makes sense, yes, because you choose based on why you're coming here and what you're coming here to do this time, because you have many opportunities, right, to basically master this realm, and the only reason you're coming back is if you haven't mastered the things you were supposed to do when you were here. So when you're coming back, let's say, okay, let me give you an example. Let's say you did everything, but you didn't show divine love, or you weren't somebody that was very giving. Yeah. When you come back, you may end up like, let's say, a beggar or someone that needs to learn that lesson of giving. You understand? So let's say you were walking past people all the time that were beggars, but you had money, you had things to give, but you didn't show no ashuk, you didn't show no empathy, and you didn't give. Now you will come back to live and maybe experience that, to see how it feels. So you may have been rich in the life previously, and even though with all the riches and all the wealth that you had, you didn't give. So when you come back this time, that's a lesson you need to learn. So you may be put in a destitute situation where you're penniless and you may be a beggar on the street, to experience how it felt when you were walking past somebody like in that misfortune and you didn't help, you didn't give, even though you had all that wealth. So this time round, you may come and be, as a part of a family where you're broke and you don't have anything. Whereas when the previous life you may have been, living rich and have all the wealth, but you didn't help. The book Your Potential by the Master Teacher Partner Bab Yanun, Dr. Malachi Z. York, is a good reference to read, because he explains that many people who are born into wealth, they don't know what their potential is, because they've never tried to do anything, because everything is given to them on a plate, so they don't even, they can end up, I don't know if I could say die, yeah, I guess I could say that word. They can die without ever reaching their potential, because they've never had to do anything, they can die of boredom, so it just shows you that, when you have wealth or when you're in a fortunate position, it's for you to share and do good with it for others, and not to be mean and selfish and just think like, what about the rest of the people? But I wanted to just read a little bit from 30 Spirits so that you can get a bit of an understanding. So in this scroll, the Master says from verse 2 to deal with incarnation, he says, I have incarnated before you, amongst you, to renew our story after 24,000 years and 6,000 years of the spell of sleep, of ignorance. Okay? It has become your time again to return to your true and holy nature as Natharu, to break Pa Rakhai, the spell, and be born again. Yeah? You, the mothers and fathers, the root Salau race of all others, Nagaru, Negroid, the civilizers of all others. And in fact, the gods of earth must be raised from the Tamwath, which is death, right? Mental death, as a mummy is raised to everlasting life. You must remember what and who you are. What and who you are to all others, right? You must bind the 30 spirits that seek to control you, the very voices of your own Salafu ancestors who lived in the image of the beast, and at Tamwath, death, have been trapped in his hell. 9. You must bind them and free them from the realm of hell, that you will be free of their whispers into your Abab, heart, and Akal, mind, which affects your very actions each Zaman, day of your life. Yeah, the Sawatu, voices who whisper to your inner mind as to what is best to do or what is right to do, and what is good to do. 11. And sawat, voices who whisper to your inner emotions and desires what is not best for you and others, what is not right to do and what is not good for you. 13. The whispers that are agreeable and the whispers that are disagreeable. 14. Your choice. Your will is influenced by the very voices of and in your DNA. So what you became after birth, what you accepted as you grew, what you believe you want as opposed to what you need. 18. Your inner voices who whisper to you only wish to fulfill their lifelong desires with your jasad, flesh, khatat, body. 19. To lust their lust, to pleasure as they wish, to be pleased by any and all. 20. They seek to use your frame for their own use, even unto your tamwat, death. 21. And each of the 30 ka'au spirits in your DNA is linked to their own 30 ka'au spirits DNA and all the ka'au spirits they have encountered during their own lives. You see, so all these spirits, yeah, because I can go on and you should really try and read this part of that, because you have unclean spirits that are in you. So it says, and when the unclean ka'au spirits are gone out of you, you only have one voice and good whispers of your ancestors. Yet take not up into you more spirits, more wicked than your own. Right? So when you read Matthew 12, verses 43 to 45, it talks about unclean spirits. Yeah? So I'm going to read it. It says, when the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places seeking rest and findeth none. Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out. And when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. Then goeth he and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also unto this wicked generation. Right? So all one's life, these evil spirits can have their way, mess up their lives, and hinder their learning by erasing the memory in the subconscious mind, making it seem hard to learn, to remember, destroying your life. 26, leading you to drugs, drinking, smoking, sex, crime, to lying, to stealing, and to killing, making you live by danger, chance, gamble, giving you diseases and sickness, making you think you're mad, crazy, and insane. And the last one I'm going to read is 27. And there are also walk-ins that are eternal links and transfers from one person to another by many means other than sex. Yeah, so the spirits that you take on or that you incarnate back in can literally ruin your life. That's why it's very important to learn about bodily fluids and exchanging DNA with others. Is that my dad? Did you want us to read something?
I have one more question.
Go ahead. This will be your last question because we want to make sure we give everybody the opportunity to get their questions answered as well. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so in the story of Jephthah in the Bible, it said that he said that if the Lord lets him prevail against his enemies, he would sacrifice the first thing that came through his door. And then his daughter came out to greet him first. So the scripture was kind of making it sound like Jephthah sacrificed his daughter. So it makes me wonder, when you read about so many gods in ancient history and in the Bible, why do they always crave blood sacrifice? Why do they crave blood so much?
Because what you're referring to as gods are just extraterrestrials, and most of them are the Anakim that are being referred to, who are bloodlusting, bloodthirsty beings. And this is why people are confused when they're reading a book that is supposed to be holy, it's not, because the word holy means pure. It's not a righteous or a pure book, because when you examine the character that they're calling God, like you say, he's asking for sacrifices. You know, it's asking, remember, Isaac was to sacrifice his son, and like you say, blood lusting and blood sprinkling over the altar, and even the whole Jesus story to bring his son to be sacrificed. None of it makes sense, right? And till this day, people sacrifice animals and eat them because of what these gods, so-called gods in the Bibles, are doing. So you can see it makes no sense, because why would you sacrifice your child? No loving, caring parent would sacrifice their child. Now check this out. But when you go into the world of, say, Hollywood and these places where, you know, in order for them to get riches and material wealth, a lot of the time they speak about them sacrificing and making sacrifices. And now it's all coming out with the exposure of, you know, the Epstein files and certain things that people would do anything for money. And, you know, that's part of that kind of industry where many people have spoken on it. You know, Kanye West has spoken on it. There's many people that have said, confessed that they had to sacrifice family members and things like that just to get wealth. But what does the scripture say? What profits a man to gain the whole world, but then to lose their soul? Because your soul is the only thing that matters, that can actually take you to, you know, the heights you need to become one with the all expanding, or as we say, pa. So your soul is very important. People sell their soul for rice, sell their soul for, you know, material wealth. But then when it comes to that moment when they're transitioning or crossing over, all of a sudden everyone wants to, you know, repent and be forgiven. But, you know, you've been set up because the work is something you do every day. It's not a last minute. You just say, oh, you know, now you want to hold the Bible and you want to start saying you're religious, but it's too late at that point, because you've already sold your soul for material wealth or whatever. So that's why it says, what profits a man to gain the whole world but to lose their soul? That your soul is that important, because if not, you're going to be trapped. But yeah, I'm going to, did that answer your questions?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, let me look at the chat to see what other questions we have before our Zamal Tat does a reading. It's our path on pause. Sacred ways returning. Your question is not making sense to me. It's our path on pause. Please elaborate, and then I can answer that for you. Okay. Who know who I bees? Rahubat. Noah, Rahubat. Okay. I'm looking. Let me know when you're
Huawei.
Right, you ready?
Tua. I was going to, Rahubat Moisa. I was going to do a reading from the Patriarch Racial Deception, but just on what we were speaking about with the Parzamal, I've decided to do a short reading from the Spiritual You After the Physical You Dies, which is the Master's Secrets. And I think we'll answer some of the questions again that we just discussed. So I'm going to start from verse 1. The spiritual you after the physical you dies, the Master's Secrets, verse 1. My beloved children of Wu-Nawap, you Nawapians, you ask me concerning your spirit after physical death. Does it have survival? Yet you can repeat lives from 24 cycles to 24,000 cycles. The spirit, it is the personality you. 2. And as for your soul, it is the emotional you, linked to the etheric you. It's your spirit that feeds your body from the mental reservoir into your physical mind. You, as a Negroid, is linked to the nine mind, the highest. Your thought, as Negroids, travels at 24 million miles a moment. That is how fast your mind can change thoughts and travel faster than the speed of a twinkle of an eye. And then I'm just going to skip to verse 16. I'll go back actually, sorry. Verse 14. If a person kills or murders another life, be it in the womb or after, the spirit will be attached to them in this life. 15. If a person puts on a uniform of any kind, be it law enforcement, military, an office robe, any job or position that results in taking a life, ordering the taking of a life, or responsible for the loss of a life, that spirit will haunt the person. In the case of military, a person may be trained or ordered to fight a war and kill one or many people. He or she has been trained to see as enemies, yet each are persons with a body and a spirit. If you, as a soldier, take another's life, reasons do not matter. The person or person's spirit will be attached to you, even follow you home from service and haunt you, even send you insane or lead you to drink, take drugs, become confused, and eventually cause you to commit suicide. The same for law enforcement personnel, and is why there are such high rates of suicide among them. 20. If a couple abort a healthy child for whatever reason, they create that child's spirit lives on around them, or can come into another child that they have later on, or just stay around until they pass over from this physical life with no anger or judgment. Yet both parents will have to live another life and will experience the very same as the child's spirit, a life of rejection.
Wow. Powerful, very powerful.
Tua.
You still going on or you done?
No, I think that's...
Towel
yeah.
hat for that.
I
That's
felt
really-
like that was relevant to...
It actually was very relevant
Tua.
and it tied in very nicely. This is what we're saying in terms of your question. I feel like I'm getting dizzy looking at you. Yeah, asking that question about spirits and reincarnation.
Ashok.
Yeah, Ashok Zamata. All right. Okay, so let's continue with the questions. There is something I'm looking for, if I can find it, that also ties into that. And if I do find it, we can use that to, again, like we say, put the pieces together. Right, Rahubat, everyone who's just joined us. And yeah, people from all over the world, South Africa in the house. Yeah, freedom for the master teacher, Liz. And yeah, I like what you're saying, Liz. Absolutely freedom for the master teacher. And, you know, we give you a shook for, you know, saying that it's good that you have a space. You're grateful to have a space where we can learn, grow, and begin waking up from the spell we've been under for so long. Ashok. Trinity Rahubat, watching from South Africa as well. Okay, we have another caller, live caller, Rahubat. As we say, greetings. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question, please? Rahubat, caller, are you there?
Oh yes, Rahubat. I'm sorry, Sakin. This is Rita. I'm outside and I didn't hear you. I did want to say, wow, Zamaltak, thank you for that was amazing. I don't have that book yet, but it brought a lot of questions to my mind. I wanted to ask If we
Sorry, which book?
if
Because
we look,
you mean the one that the
the 30
Zamotat?
spirits. Yes, the
Oh,
one
the
that's
30
Zamaltat.
spirits.
Yes, Zamaltat, the 30 spirits.
Okay, Tua, go ahead.
So I wanted to know if we look at our lives now and the experiences that we find ourselves in, like the family we were born into and all of that, is that a result of our past lives?
It's a result, yeah, it's a result of your current life. This is why we always emphasize the time is now. Now is
Okay.
all that exists. Is what you're doing now that will change your destiny. And
Okay.
so it's about, this is why once you're alive, every time you wake up in the morning, you should definitely give gratitude because you still have a chance. You've got another day to like, do better, change your mindset, change your life, change your diet, change anything about you
Yes.
because you're still here and still alive to do so. So your very
Yes.
last thought that you have before you transition is so powerful because
Yes.
it propels you to wherever you go. So if at that very moment you're thinking envy, jealousy, greed, all that stuff, it just remains as a stamp. Whereas if you're there thinking, oh, I really would like the master teacher to be free, or I could do more to help people, the positive thoughts that you have at that very moment will be the one that
Yes.
really helps to take you to where you need to go.
Yes, and so yes, I understand that.
Sure.
And I was also wondering then, so if you lived, and I understand the concept of now, everything is now, but before we come back to this earth, for instance, if you were deceiving people, or if you molested someone, or murdered someone, when you come back into this existence, does that mean it's like an eye for an eye? You will experience those exact same acts?
Exactly. Because even though we say now, or when we look at time, it's all now. So what you
Wow.
may be calling let's say 10 years ago or the past, it's still relative
Yes.
now. And what is now today in this moment is relative. And what you're
Wow.
calling the future is still now. So all of it together is multiple nows that are combined for what you would call judgment. That's why you judge yourself.
Yes.
You judge yourself by the things you do and how you act. But unfortunately, some people don't realize that their personal choice has been hijacked to the point where they're not thinking by themselves or thinking for themselves. They're being influenced by others. And a lot of the times it's the spirits that are, they've been binded to. That's what religion does. It binds you to these, you give
Yes.
allegiance, or when you say religions, you're relying on the jinns or you're binding yourself to the legions of spirits in these religions.
Yes.
And then that's why when we're reading 30 spirits, it says those could also be your ancestors who were also, under those conditions. So you have to bind them, and they are the agreeable ones and the disagreeable ones. So once you bind them, they no longer really have an effect on you. You can cast them out of yourself by the things you do.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're right. That's why in the spiritual you after the physical you dies, it explains that. And the 24 elders is another great master secret to get hold of, because it's taken. This is where they get the laws of Ma'at from, but it's a lot more
Yes.
serious than people think. People think in religion that they can sin all their life, do all of these wicked things, as you say, and then just get dipped in
Yeah.
water and said, you're saved now, and they believe it. But it's not true. They still
Yes.
go through in their reincarnation to go through those
Well,
consequences. Go ahead.
well, exactly. And you don't realize that whatever, you're experiencing now, it plays out.
In your
So you
multiple
can't get
lifetimes.
away from it. You can't
Yeah,
get away from the deeds that you've done, in the
absolutely.
sense that it will always come back and it plays out. And that's the leveling field.
Exactly. That's why you have 24 to 24,000 times to pay your debt if you want to use it that way. And people say,
Yeah.
why do I have to keep coming back? You don't. There are people that are so pure in their life that it may be their last time, and when they transition, they just go straight up. They don't have to reincarnate anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's just when you have an understanding of this and you get the information. I mean, I haven't been religious since I was age 9. I mean, something didn't make sense to me, but you realize how, you know, the impact you make with every action that you have. And so, yeah, I'm going to get 30 Spirits today. That's just another book that I have to get, or scroll.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much. This is just, it's profound, and it really demystifies all of these things that religion has done.
That's
and,
right.
you know, the idea of forgiveness. Forgiveness comes by you actually coming back and having what you did done to you.
And doing the work, yes.
Yes, and doing the work.
Tua. Power.
Wow. Tao Tats. Thank you so much.
You're absolutely welcome.
Okay. Wadu.
Wadi. Okay, Reyes Sananda, next question. Rahubat, serious question. How can we survive in a world so cruel? I got into a fight yesterday and I got stabbed on my doorstep. How can we stop this crab in the bucket mentality? Crab in the bucket mentality. First of all, Nadum, sorry to hear that, you know, you had that incident. I'm glad you know, you're speaking, so we take it that you're okay. Again, it ties into the previous question because you have to know that this world is designed, and who do they say is the ruler of this world? Who do they say were cast down here? And they've had 6,000 years, these disagreeable beings, of rulership of the moon cycle, and the 6 ether forces have dominated up until the year 2000. So when the spell was broken and we're now in the hereafter, the issue is what you do and what your mind draws is what is manifested in your reality. And so you have to check yourself sometimes. I'm not even saying in your particular situation, but you know, we create our own reality. So you may, like the caller who just said, the last caller was saying that we come here to experience and live and go through certain things based on our previous lives. But if you start to cut away, again, the last caller was touching on this, that religion has done a serious job of, you know, like distorting information and misleading you with the misinformation. So you have to know and start to, when you start to clear and, what's the word, purge all the people around you, all the things that you're doing, and like the things that you hear in your voices that are disagreeable. I mean, even like you said, the world is cruel, and when you're around people who feed that type of energy, then you get caught up in it. So you have to eradicate that, take yourself away from those people that think that way, the things they eat that affect them, because ultimately the way you think is how you behave or how you act. And the way you think may be by the moral standard of religion. And we already saw that the deities over these religions, they're not very kind, loving, caring people. And so you get kind of like pushed away from your ancestors, and when something really positive or really good happens, you give that energy or praise to these deities that you've never known, never seen. And so I'm saying you just have to be in the right environment with the right people. That's why we say wu-sabat will help you, because it transforms you inside out. And you can't really be amongst or dealing with people of a particular mentality. How we can stop this crab in the bucket or barrel mentality is to be amongst people who don't behave and think that way. because some people want success for everyone. They, you know, they want all of us to progress. But then, like you say, you have those who, it's not easy. Those who have that crab in the barrel mentality, and instead of supporting and helping, they want to pull you down. And it comes with the territory because, you know, when we say trial and tribulation, like, and your potential, you're only going to know your potential when you're tested or put in positions where, you know, you survive from. And they say what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, right? So you're going to get stronger. You just have to know and learn to not feed the forces. We have an actual fact called feeding the forces, because these forces can come in many forms. You know, they can come in a pretty red dress, as you saw in the Matrix. They can come in a student loan. They can come in a job. They can come in any form to entice you and take you off the path. But part of that keeps you on the right path, on the way, okay? So yeah, stay close to wu-sabat, keep studying, keep reading, and transforming.
Rahubat Muisa, Rahubat Seken,
Rahubat.
Anuki Terry Jamal Tehuti from Zambia. So I just have a quick question from the scroll Feeding the Forces. So my particular question comes from verse 13, which states, if only you knew what has started at the fourth cycle of 1993 AD on 2008-9-10-11 and 12 AD. There is much to watch around the world. So my question is, does the master teacher give more information regarding this cycle? And what kind of a cycle? Is it the same cycle as the 24,000 cycles, or is it a special cycle which started in 1993? Like, maybe if you can give a breakdown on that.
All right, I'm trying to find that actual fact, and then I can kind of reference what you're relaying to, because I just need to read it to see. Feeding the forces. Okay, I've got it. All right, let's have a look. Can you? I want. Do you remember where he was reading from? Let's just play it one more time. Thanks for your voice.
Question comes from verse 13.
Verse 13.
So my particular question comes from verse 13, which states, if only you knew what has started at the fourth cycle of 1993 AD on 2008-9-10-11 and 12 AD. There is much to watch around the world. So my question is, does the master teacher give more information regarding this cycle? And what kind of a cycle? Is it the same cycle as the 24,000 cycles, or is it a special cycle which started in 1993? Like, maybe if you can give a breakdown on that.
Okay, Tua, I've got it now, so let me read it. I'm just going to go back one verse, because it says on the 21st of December 2012 AD, at dawn, the Patanun earth lines up with Re, and the black womb, or the galactic center, the black hole, the fifth element, Nut. 13, this is where you started from. If only you knew what has started at the fourth cycle of 1993 AD on to 2008. Again, it's American format, so I'm trying to read it. So it'll be the 10th of September, 11th and 12th AD. There is much to watch around the world. And Amunub Reapata is breath from us, our ark, to open the way. Why then did you all have him to the hands of the wicked ones? Did you not sniff his fragrance of our soul, yet elected to smell the putrefied odor of dead flesh? 18. Did you not hear our voices come by way of him? 19. Yet elected to listen to this howling of the beast man. You gave him over as you did 2,000 years ago with the Amen, Pa Amun, Har Amun, called Yahshua. You are lost. Furthermore, you all testified that Pa Mujdud, the reformer, the renewer, is in fact our master teacher, the man of the hour. Why then did you not hearken to our words, but followed the gibberish of their liars? You also stated in your own words that you saw from 1970 AD until you left miraculous proofs to authenticate his identity. Why have you not helped him and seek illumination, transformation by these signs? Right, so if you step back and read the whole of this actual fact, it's talking about different cycles within cycles, and it's referring also to what we call the dimensional shift. So in terms of the cycles, the cycles all relate, but they're running simultaneously. So for example, this is actually referring to people that left when the master teacher was kidnapped, and the fact that even though they were around him and bear witness and testify to who he is, they still gave him over, and he's explaining that in the past, this was the same type of story in terms of who people refer to as Yahshua, or some say Jesus, right? So the cycles are within the cycle. So the fourth cycle, because even though we started coming into the year, the sun cycle in the year 2000, things actually started from 1966, right? Which was the time or the birth of like the devil in the current incarnation. And so from 1966 to 1999, but there's a countdown, right, to the year 2000. So when he's saying like 1993, that's 7 years count into the year 2000, okay? And then that new cycle of the sun cycle started from then. So even though we say 2000, because of the throw off of, if you study the Philadelphia experiment and the whole project about, the USS Eldridge, that they were trying to do in the invisibility project, right? From Virginia, from Philadelphia to Virginia, or the other way around. But that experiment threw the cycles off, or time off, by 3 years. That's why the vortexes started to open, from like 1943, 53, 63, 73, 83, and then 93. So that cycle is going on. So even though when we say the year 2000, the actual full effect was 2003, because the cycles are within the cycle. So you would originally, based on the prophecies, the seventh seal would have been broken in 1970, but because of the throw off of the Philadelphia experiment from and it threw it off by 3 years. So the original prophecy would be 1970 to the year 2000, but it's now the 3 years that's thrown it off from 1943, as I said, 53, 63, 73, 83, and here he's touching on 93. It's then going on from there to 2003. You follow? So, and that's every 10 years since that time. That's why I'm saying 43, 53, 63, 73. So there are cycles within cycles, and that fourth cycle is the last one as we counted up to the year 2000, because you have four, if you look at a circle and put a cross in the middle of it, so you have 4 quarters, right? The revolution, and then it turned. So you had like a sun cycle, moon cycle, each of 6,000 years each. Sun cycle, moon cycle, sun cycle, moon cycle, and then it starts again with the new sun cycle from the last 6,000 years, which counted down from, 1993. In fact, a year before that is where the master was explaining to us about the candelabra. When you look at the that candlestick that has, it's called a menorah. It's got like 3 on this side and 3 on this side and 1 in the middle, which is that 7 years. So from 1993, we're counting down those 7 years. And the master, if you go and listen to a recording called the Sun Cycle, the Sun, People of the Sun, and another one called Elohim, right, where he was explaining that we are counting down that menorah for the last 7 years to the year 2000, from that 1993. And then if you're looking at it in terms of that the days, because that menorah relates to the 7 days, because each scripture has a number over it, right? Like the Bible has the number 7, with 7 days of creation, the 7 candlesticks, the 7 churches, the 7 thunders. So that 7 was the countdown on that candelabra, the menorah, counting down each year to the year 2000, where the year 2000, where the new sun cycle came in. All right, but in between, from the year 2000 now, going forward for the second half hour, you saw that the master, what did the master get? He got kidnapped in 2002. You see, that's where you're now counting to what I read, the dimensional shift, the dimensional shift, which was in 2012 AD, which he mentions here. And then, as you can see, from 2012, the dimensional shift, we now moved on into fully, we're in the sun cycle of the second half hour, counting down to 2030. All right. I trust that helped. Do we have another question? Live. Oh, Rahubat, live caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Rahubat Musar.
Rahubat.
Brother, I would like to thank you. I'd like to thank all of y'all, basically, for everything that y'all doing, and it's resonating, and everybody's getting on board. So let's get that out the way.
Thank you.
I got three quick questions. I heard you the tail end of you was explaining something about blue candles and the spirituality of going into that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get the whole thing, so if you can tell me about that. And then the second question I have is basically about like the languages online. Mm-hmm. Because I know that we know the getting in the tones, and that's very important. Somebody said it on your show, and it made me. It really got to me. They said we dream in English, and I thought about that, and I said that makes sense. So I don't even dream in my own in my own dream, I'm still under the oppressor. So my point is, I'm definitely getting deep in diving into this language. So I know you said you got an online thing going on. I don't. I'm not all that good with the computers, but I'm learning. So you be patient with me. But I know you guys said that if you can give me that information. And the last thing you was talking about, I heard you mention this again, or maybe the other brothers about chanting.
Right.
And that's it, bro. I really, like I said, I appreciate all what y'all have done. Oh yeah, one more quickly. You said if you can't get certain books, I seen that you had them, and I wanted to be able to link up to certain books that you guys have because I wanted to pick it up. And I don't care how long it'll take. I'm in the States. I'm from Philadelphia, PA. So my name is Hapuz. So if we can do that, hey, it's all good.
Right, Tawat, thanks for your questions. Right, yeah, you
Thank
raised
you.
some great points I do want to touch on. The first one relating to the candles, it's different rituals that we have to help us heal. The master has
Yes.
always shared with us, what we do to heal. It's a lot of the times we don't practice these things, so that's why we end up being sick and so forth, and or like we're not working together in love and unity. So the weight sometimes is carried by the few, so people get stressed because they're doing too much or carrying too much. But yeah, that we have rituals which we can share with the family, like the one with the blue candle which you touched on. Yes, you have a way to heal any part of your body by taking the blue candle, some honey and some cinnamon, and there's a way you do it where you have to, hold the candle and focus and concentrate on the areas that you want to heal. And of course, it could take, it could, for some people they may be able to heal quickly. Others may have to do it over and over again based on their condition, because with anything, you don't wait till it's so bad and then you try to heal it. And I'm saying it's like prevention is better than cure, as they say. So if you're doing these things, practicing the ways of wu-sabat, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So you're eating right, you're much intake of water, and even that in itself is a challenge because you need to know what type of water to drink. Our brother Habtui has shared many times that, okra, you can put okra live in water and that will help make the water a lot more alkaline, because it's really the cells. This is what people forget, that everything is cellular. So, which reminds me, we've got a new course called Know Your Body Inside Out on our platform, the academy. We can share the link, as well as you mentioned, the language course is also on there, and we have a new beginners language course on Telegram that started, last shadow hours. And unfortunately for us, and we're going to talk to our brothers in the States, the time is very late for us over here. So we want to see if we can, have one that is, in terms of the time zones, is going to be, good for us as well as you all in the States. But yeah, so if you're in our Telegram group, if you're part of the family, you will get access to those rituals in terms of, step by step of what you do. And we have many others, but it's all about, are you balanced in terms of, are you, physically well? Do you do your exercises? Do you take much intake of water? Are you mindful? Are you reading and studying, the doctrine of wu-sabat? Are you meditating? Are you relaxing? We have partaraks called relaxation, concentration, meditation. All of these ones are useful on the spiritual side. The fasting, you're supposed to be fasting on the day of your birth, and also, the first 3 days of the month. There are many practices that we do which bring everything together, so it's not just one thing. So yeah, that's that in terms of that particular ritual. The language course, we do have it online because we can reach more people, anybody can study at their own pace, and we have a lot of quizzes. It's very interactive. And now we have the know your body, as you said, the body relates as well. So we have that. What was the other thing you mentioned? I think we covered the ritual with the candles, the language course. There was something else. Did I miss something?
The chanting.
That's it, the chanting, yes. So the chanting and the language, they go hand in hand because the chanting recalibrates your being. It's like the tones and vibrations and frequencies that you're around affect you. That's why music is a universal language. And when we're talking and speaking, this is music. Nature is music. If you ever stop in nature and just listen to the sounds of the birds, the wind and the leaves, and everything is music, and it's supposed to be in harmony. So the chants tie into the three tones that resonate with us as Nagara Nadu, which is F, A, and C. The A is the resonant frequency of the body, and the F deals with nature. So you have to be in tune with nature, and if nature knows you're in tune with it, it's not going to harm you, it's going to protect you. And then the third, the C, relates to the cosmos, because you're an energetic being, you're an etheric being that resonates across multi-dimensions. So chanting our chants in the tones of F, A, and C in unison as well as in harmony makes us united as one, and we have more power. Because people always say, how can we help? How can we free the master teacher? These are all the things we have to do as one being, one soul, because we are the soul. He says, Amanubira Akpata, the soul of Yanun is connected to us, and that's how we can connect with him. And as we work together, we can bring change. The brother asked earlier on about we live in a cruel world. We can like transform that, because if there's too much negativity and we're not doing what we're supposed to do as those who want to push a peaceful, unharmful world, then we're not counteracting the negativity. So the more you wake up from the spell and join us, the more we can eradicate 64 forces, which is happening anyway by way of natural nature. And that's why there is chaos on the planet, because they're busy. Every time you turn on the news, you're hearing someone trying to assassinate someone, the wars are going on, the missiles, and just wars and wars. That's all they push in this 60th world. So we have to stay away from all of that and focus on nine ether, and that's how we bring about the change. All right, Tawat for your questions, and
thank you.
Appreciate, love you. All right. Okay, let's get back to the questions in the chat.
Voice note.
We got a voice note? Okay, let's go for it.
Greetings and Rahubat.
Rahubat.
Thank you for answering my voice note. I wanted to ask about the individual from Angola known as the Black Jesus, and if you've heard of him and your thoughts about him. His name was Simon Togo. Thank you.
Yes, I know, and I have heard of him. See, the master teacher, Padre Babianun, has been telling us how powerful we are for years. You see, when you get cut, right, and your body starts to heal itself, like if you actually stop and think about the genius of that, how your cells are able to reknit themselves, and then you heal, and that scab just eventually disappears. What he taught us is that we have the knowledge and have lost it, and at points we were able to regrow limbs, and that your physical body has other parts attached to them, right? So to it. So if you have a physical arm, if this arm was cut off, the spiritual counterpart is still there. The etheric counterpart is still there. This is why when people get what they call prosthetic. Say again. Prosthetics. Thank you. Sometimes I can't pronounce some of these English words. Right. So they put a arm on you, and then you're able to start moving your fingers because the energy flow is still there. So in the case of that brother, you know, he's been making the rounds on social media because stories like that of us as supreme beings, as beings who could, we may say certain things and you might think, oh, that's far-fetched. We used to could fly. We used to could regrow limbs. This is why, you know, today it may be on a very tiny, small scale, like, you know, you're regrowing the tissue and everything that when you get a cut. You know, that's amazing, and natural nature will help you to do that. So there are many stories of our past that have been suppressed and hidden, and we're only just now coming back into knowing who we are because we're starting to get back, you know, our story, right? And renewing that story of 24,000 years, you know, and we're just really at the early stages. We had our barythry gland, which we no longer have, or many people don't have full access to it anymore because it has to be reactivated and or reinserted. And some children are now being born with it, as well as some adults. So we're still just getting to know our abilities and our potential and our powers. And so that story is not something that is that far-fetched. We know sometimes people, Chinese whispers do creep in and people remix the story, and the more it goes on, the more, you know, people add or take away from it. But if you look at the essence of the story, one, you cannot destroy energy, right? And if you know how, you can constantly come back and regrow your limbs. In the Man from Planet Risk book, it tells you the Etherians, the Riskians, the higher, you know, of them, known as the Etherians, pure energy beings, it tells you that if you were to confront them with a, you know, with a pistol, and we're going, they're so advanced that they don't even react, because they know that the physical skin suit is just that. It's just a suit, and your light being, you know, made up of your spirit, your soul, your etheric, that being, once you are advanced enough to know that you can dematerialize and materialize, you know, so for them, that's nothing. Like the physical body is just a skin suit. It's like you got many jackets or many clothes in your wardrobe that you change every day. This is what they mastered, the skin suit. This is just bacteria that some of us are so fascinated by and do everything for the flesh and for the physical body and do very little to enhance and strengthen your spiritual, your soul, your mental being. Those are the real, they're not as tangible as the physical body, but they're as important, and in fact more important. So these stories of coming back again, waking people from the dead, as they say, right? Regrowing limbs and coming back over and over again, that's something that we have the capability to do. And so in that story, that's the essence of it. You know, they tried to destroy him, he kept coming back, and eventually, you know, they just were frustrated with the fact that they couldn't get rid of him. It's the same story that, if you look at it, our race of people on the planet have faced so much, I wouldn't have to go into it, and we're still here because you are tied to those ancestors from the past. And some of those ancestors are trapped, and some of those ancestors are the voices you're hearing in your head. So yes, it's something that I'm well aware about. And the final thing they tell you in that story is that he said, if I go, right, in the future, there will be much more like myself. and it's going to be even harder because we're everywhere. You know, it's not about like they were doing, like looking for the Messiah, the Black Messiah, because they were trying to stop him. And he's here now in the body and the personage of Pa Nabab Yanun, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. And don't you think that, you know, they've tried everything to stop him, but yet now the world is waking up to truth, because that's his mission, that's his job. He's here to bring about this new cycle, to bring about truth, to rewrite our story and renew it, shall I say, and to make you into a supreme being so you have those abilities too. But you can't throw pearls to swine. If you don't clean yourself inside out, if you don't follow Pautaruk, if you don't apply what you're learning in wu-sabat, then you're holding yourself back. You're judging yourself. And everyone that has put wu-sabat to the test will tell you how their life has changed, how it has improved them mentally. They're not under the bondage of religion and all this control and fear and all these systems that are designed to keep you trapped on the 6 ether forces. So yeah, that story is going around, but you are that supreme being. You have those abilities, especially when you get your barothry gland back. All right, so let's move on to the next question. All right. Cool, we're doing well today. We're getting through the questions. And which reminds me, actually, there's a question a sister asked last week, just at the end, as we were closing out. She was like, why don't people, well, she said you're answering questions that you've been answering for the last 3 years or something, she was saying. And I did answer it, and obviously I answered it by saying we are here to answer the questions that people put to us. However, if you're not studying the scrolls, if you're not reading the books, then you're just regurgitating and asking the lower level questions in that sense. Not lower in the sense of putting anybody down, but like the stuff that the master took 30 years to teach us, because we were constantly asking questions on religion. So he had to put the high level wu-sabat, munwapu information, our information, aside and go through the Bible, the Quran, the Talmud, and all these books that people would ask questions on. And so we covered all those schools of religion, but many people weren't awake then. And now they are. Now they're asking those same questions again. So we have to circle back and pick up those people who are now awake, but they're still in the religious mindset, and you have to break the spell. So you have to use the same spell to break them from it. Because if you don't break the Bible down and the Quran and just make it make sense to the point where they're like, you know what, actually this doesn't make sense, then they can leave it without being afraid that they're going to be damned and burned in a place that forever and ever and be tormented, and that's torment in itself. So your mind gets released from that bondage, and then you start your journey of taking control back of yourself, your energy. Then you start to see and work with others that are doing the same. So the question the sister asked was a good question, and I answered it in that way. However, what I would also add to that is, if you are at a point where you feel like, I know it all now, I've heard this before, I've been studying for the last year, 2 years, 3 years. So the next step is now you put it into action, right? You do. Go to your nearest location, go to your stores, get involved in the building. Teaching then, you teach it, and teach it in a higher and better way than to the way maybe you're looking at other people and saying, oh, you know, I've heard it all before. But yes, but what are you doing with it? Are you reaching the world? Are you spreading wu-sabat? Are you doing your part? Because when you point a finger at someone, how many are pointing back at you? 2 are that way, 3 are pointing back at you. So, you know, let's do our part as opposed to come up with a new method, a new way. You know, there's so many ways. Have you designed an app, a game, or something that will reach people worldwide and help humanity? Are you a giver or you're just a taker? Are you a builder or a destroyer? So, let's put in the work. When you get to that point, then now apply it. Start doing it. Have you got a business and you can provide, for others, schools, hospitals, whatever we need, can you do that? So yeah, if you get to a point where you've read all these books and you're able to share and teach, do that. Or help to build other things. Do you have a healing center? What do you have? What business? What do you bring to the table? All right, so let me move on from that. I just wanted to touch on that because I remember that from last session. Okay, what's the next question? Cover that one.
The sound keeps cutting out, but it's good. It's all good.
Is it? You've sorted it. All right, let's have a look at this chat. See where.
Someone said, "What language is wu-sabat?"
Oh yeah, that was the language question. We didn't really kind of what
What language is wu-sabat?
wu-sabat is not the language, but the word is from the language. So wu-sabat relates to our culture. The language is Mispatia, but it's not. It's been known by many names, and people refer to it as Sabaic, right? Or I already said we know it as Mispatia, Nuapic. You go into like Napata. It was really reactivated by the people called the Queen of Sheba, and the language itself is from our ancestors from the stars, from the Orion star system. They brought it down here, and it's spoken in other parts of the universe. It's spoken on Mars. So a lot of beings that have come down here, our ancestors came here, and they actually designed and taught the female Nagaru females first, 54,000 years ago, and then later on they taught us the male, and then much late. I'm saying later as in coming into this direction, like 6,000 years ago when Adamites were grafted, they learned it, and then you've got different scripts of the language, like the hieroglyphics, which people refer to as the Metuneta, and that's the language of the gods, as it translates. But you're really looking at the script, which is the hieroglyphics, which had many scripts. Then it's the same script in ancient Sumer, or the Sumerian, where you get the cuneiform, or some say cuneiform. Those are both scripts of our language, Mispatia, and that's where language comes from. But it was brought here by our ancestors, Natharu, to the planet Earth. Okay, we have another live caller, Rahubat. Greetings, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Rahubat, Dre calling from the States.
Hey, Rahubat.
I had a question about, I know before we talked about originally, we were seeded through the dolphins on water and we came onto land. I had a question because I think before covering in the studies, is it true that we were like, once we came on the land, did we break off into like 9 different tribes, and us being in different tribes? Us being in those different tribes, is that sometimes where the conflict that we have amongst ourselves comes into hand?
100%. Tua, yes. That's right. And but the difference is that we're in a day and time where the one who knows how is able to bring us together. This is part of when we say the 144,000 that are being raised, it's because of the 9, as you just rightfully said, because when you look at that 144, it's symbolic, it's actual literal as well. So the 9 species of Nagaru have different traits, and so we have the conflicts, or we're meant to be in tribes. That's why it's like, I've made you into tribes, but you're supposed to know of each other. Now, the master teacher with the tone, he's able to bring us together regardless of our our differences, you see, because those that are listening, because he has the three tones in one. And again, that's science when you start to look at three, because the number three, it's the way you get to nine, because 3 times 3 gives you 9, right? Because the three tones gives you the like in the three-dimensional world, because you got, when you look at a triad, you're playing 3 tones, the 1, 3, and the 5. Before you start going into like more harmony in terms of like 6th notes, 7th notes, 9th notes, 11th and 13th. And so his 3 tones in one are able to, as I said, 3 times 3 brings the 9 tones. And when you look at the scale in music, you have 8 tones, right? The do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. The 8th being the octave, which relates to the 8 octawards, right, of the original beads. And then the 9 then attaches to the 9 enneads. And the 9th note, right? Because people say, okay, in the scale, there are only 8 notes. But if you played all those 8 notes together, you're going to get the 9, which ties into the 9 enneads. So you're going from the 8 octawards to the 9 enneads, which then make up the 9 different Nagaru species. And then each one of those tones is 3 as well, right? So if we're using the major scale, the simple major scale, C major scale, you go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again, which is the 8th, the octave. But each one of those is a triad, because you have a major, you have a flat, and you have a sharp, you see, of each one of those. So this is why when you start to go to the 3 times 3 times, it gets to 9, 9 to the 9th power of 9. So the one who has the tones, who knows what he's doing, just his voice alone will bring us all together regardless. And this is what they teach you, that, you know, opposites, what do opposites do when they're talking about magnets?
They said it attracts.
Okay. And so if you put a positive and a negative together, what happens?
What it said, opposites attract. I know what the
No,
magnets don't.
like and like. Like they say opposites. Is it opposite attract, or is it the other way around? I think it's you're
They say,
right. So
opposites attract. Yeah.
yeah,
Because when
so
you put the positive and negative together, they come together.
right, but that's back to front, because
Yeah.
but when you do it the other way with magnets, because you remember when you're dealing with magnetism, this is electricity, because you're dealing with electromagnetism, right? This is things repelling and things coming together. Now, when
Right.
you go back to the science of creation, he's telling you that you've got 2 things, the circle and the square, which look like they're different, right? Because the circle is a circle and the square is a square, but they mathematically, they're both equal to 360 degrees. And where ordinarily they would not be able to come together, right? But he was able to force them together. This is how the atoms are formed, because when you start to look at the building blocks of life and what actually makes you tick, it goes into the cells, because you're coming from an electric or a light being, okay, which is like what we call density. So from that density to matter, yeah, to atom, to atoms that are put together, then those atoms then form organs, and those organs form bodies, right? But when you
Yes.
look at the small minute atom itself, you look at a proton. You have a proton in the middle in the nucleus, and you have an electron around it, which is electricity. But he was able to force the circle into the square. And I mean, it's a big story if you read the science of creation, right? It goes from a dot or nukta, or we said nakat, and that dot formed a line, and then that line formed different lines were going in different directions. Then they came together to form a circle, but and then that circle was split in half and turned inside out. I'm saying that to say that the master teacher has the ability to do the undoable, or like what you would call impossible, which is if you repel, but the force that is applied enough to bring you together. That's what he's doing with us as beings on the planet, regardless of our differences and the fact that we've been taught to be attracted to the opposite, but really we should be able to like and like should come together, because it's that resonant frequency. So yeah, so you're right in terms of those 9 species, and that's why we have differences and we fight amongst ourselves with the 6 ether forces that are applied, and we're taught that doctrine of not coming together in terms of, and the master is saying love and unity is what's going to free him. So regardless of whether you like each other or not, regardless of your differences, regardless of the various egos, regardless of the different religions or the whatever you've been exposed to by way of 6 ether forces, which are adverse to 9, he's able to bring everyone on the planet together that will submit to wu-sabat, or to the doctrine of wu-nawap. And that's what's happening. Either you come together, or you're going to basically dissipate and be removed with the forces of 6 ether. So that's a great question. But yeah, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I have another question, but also just real quick on that same thing. So for when it was 9 tribes, what made it 9 tribes? Was it the different DNA from the different elders? That's what transformed it into 9 different tribes, or just evolution on its own?
It was experiments, because our ancestors carried out different experiments. This is why when you're talking about these, what I said, the Ogdoads, the 8, right? Nun, Nunet, He, Het, Ket, Kiket, Amun, and Amunet. These were different experiments in terms of upgrading us and removing certain aspects of us. And that's why I say those 8 then became the 9. But they're still, so by the time you got to like Nekeba and Zakat of 49,000 years ago, that's what they were doing, because they were taking, remember the Pataites, the original beings, they were very passive, to the point where when these reptilians, Anunnaki, came on the planet, they were eating them because they were very
And they
passive.
mixed them with the Watusi tribe to give them a little bit more pushback or aggression.
There you go. So you had the Pataites, the very passive, and then he was like, okay, let's take the DNA and the genes of Path and Anath, who were the mothers and fathers of Nekeba, and then you had who they call Adam or Zakar, who was from the Watusi, which was Atum and Lilith, and they were, if you trace his genealogy, he went back to the Hindus, right? And they were disagreeable, so they were then trying to produce a being from the two of them that one would not be so passive anymore. When they're being attacked, they will defend themselves, and then the other one had the aggression or that disagreeable where then it will balance out. So that's why all those were experiments that gave us different natures, and they've been trying to breed out the disagreeable away from us. Till this day, the experiment is still going on, where we have a lot of 6 ether forces that are influencing a lot of the way people think. Oh yeah, that was the other question the brother asked. He was saying, you're dreaming in English, and so the language is the way to break the spell. It's the way to get you to be operating on 9 ether, regardless of your previous disposition as the DNA, because you can reprogram your DNA, and that's what we're doing. And that's pathogenesis in terms of, neuroplasticity. That's what's happening when you're reprogramming and creating new neural pathways by exercising different parts of your brain that you haven't used for thousands of years, that you're now activating by way of wu-sabat. You follow?
Yes, I do. Second question. I know how before previous conversations you discussed saying, let's say like an ancestor or elder has already transitioned over and they weren't familiar about wu-sabat. They'll only be judged on what they know. So is it true that, let's say like me, I'm still alive, that with my ancestors on the other side, me learning and getting this information, applying it and trying to teach it to my family now, does that help my ancestors that already transitioned over on the other
Absolutely.
side with bringing them up and elevating them more?
Tua, because remember, even though they've transitioned, some haven't made it. Some of them are trapped, and they're connected to you. You are them, and they are you. That's why you have the 180 degrees of agreeable and the 180 degrees of disagreeable, which you're trying to suppress and convert so that you become a 360 agreeable. And so, because you're connected to them, what you're doing here is definitely having an impact on them and vice versa, so they can help you from the other side. This is quantum entanglement, and this is what we call the ability to draw from your ancestors wherever they are, and vice versa. The ones who want to utilize you for their attachment to this realm by their pleasures or the energy that feeds those pleasures, they will influence you to do the things that you struggle with letting go of, until you realize that, oh, it's my ancestors are trying to utilize me for their own good. That's why that 30 spirits is again an excellent part to read. But yes, what you do here will free the ones that are trapped, and the ones that are not trapped, they're helping you from that side here. And when you get to that realm, you will then help free the ones that are trapped. So as you're reading, they're also learning now from you by way of what you do. So yes, you're 100% right again, that you can lift them up and they can lift you up. This is why in religion they say you take one step towards, they say obviously God, Allah, or whatever, and he takes 10 towards you. But really that's your ancestors that are there beckoning on you all the time to grow and help you, because the ones I've made it don't want to come back down here, and the ones that are trapped are pulling you up, so you can then help pull them up when you move up. So yeah, that's what wu-sabat's here to do.
So that's why when we transition, you said before, either there's going to be a light. If you go into that light, that's going to cause you to start over and reincarnate. But if you look for your ancestors, they'll call and reach out to you. You go with your ancestors instead of going towards the light.
Torah, exactly. Yeah, because then they will know that you know them and they know you. But don't wait till then to know them. You're supposed to be knowing them, getting to know them from now, from here. So they will help you and you become familiar with them. And most people are afraid because you've been kind of taught like, once people go, they're gone forever, and some are suffering and being tormented in hell and all these kind of stuff. That is not really the case. So once you break out of that, you start to focus on doing what will help you and them at the same time.
And last question: what's one for this summer, since it's going to be hotter than usual, what they usually say, and then us being melanated beings, what's the best ways you would probably say to soak up a lot of that energy, just being outside in general?
Yeah,
and
I
enjoying
mean, we should be
nature?
outside anyway, because we get very little vitamin D and we get very little sun, and you need the sun, and your eyes are actually solar panels, and we have sun heat genes. And as I was saying about the quantum entanglement, you also got epigenetics, which is the genes and the genetics actually come from the sun. We're people of the sun, and so we have to be able to recharge and recharge ourselves by way of the sun. In the West, you're indoors most of the time, in terms of, even if you're working, most people are working indoors. They don't really get much sunlight, or they don't get much sun. So yeah, when we get it, it's important to absorb and soak it up. You see, when the sun's out, everybody's they go to the parks and they're lying down, and people obviously that are still in the mindset of religion are doing barbecues, which are really, again, just, flesh and all that. But it brings about a more vibrant, happier time, because people are spending time together. People have, they meet up and they do things together. Whereas during the cold and winter days, everyone's inside most of the time. So yes, definitely. And now we're in the sun cycle, and you know the planet is getting closer and closer to the sun, and so
Right.
more rays are coming in, and the rays have outformation, which comes from the sun. And so yeah, we definitely need to
Should
absorb
we
as much.
look at the sun? Because you said our eyes are solar panels. Should we look at the sun at certain times to
Yeah,
soak up the energy?
we should, but the thing is, we don't do anything to the extreme, because some people then follow distorted teachings of, like, you know, the Far East, and people that just look into the sun to the extreme till they go blind. Like, that's not what you can train yourself to look into the sun, because most people, they can't look at the sun because they start to, you know, their eyes, they squint their eyes. And but I've developed to look into the sun, and it took time. Like, after a while you get used to it, but at first you find it a little bit uncomfortable. But yeah, remember, solar panels, they absorb the light, and you absorb it. And because your eyes, as people say, are what? Well, the windows to the soul. And so that's not coincidence, because the solar panels all relate to the sun, because you're recharging yourself with the three suns. Yeah, so you're, again, the number three keeps coming up because you have a sun in the center of the earth, you have a sun within you as the solar plexus, and you have the sun, the external sun. And then you have the billions of suns that are called stars. And these are all designed to sustain life, and for you to charge yourself, and to basically be able to rejuvenate your cells. Yeah, so all of these things do have a relevance, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna take some other questions because you've been on for a while. But your questions are great. I can hear you're studying. You know, the next thing is, I always say, are you helping out and being, you know, in the community with the brothers and sisters? Because we do have a lot of work to do in a short space of time in terms of building.
Yeah, we had a herbal class this past Sunday at one of the stores.
Tour.
So I went down there and we learned about healing ourselves and stuff.
Oh, perfect. Great. Yeah, because the
Wadu.
coming together and mixing is important. Wadu Zamal. All right, let's get back to some more questions in the chat. I'm going to run through some of these. Let's not take any voicemails for now. I learned about Dr. York. This is son of Sun 6969. I learned about Dr. York 1996, New York City. Forever thankful for my travels. Tour. Greetings from Philadelphia. Thank you. I think that's when I was talking about, oh no, somebody's from Philadelphia. I thought they were talking about when I was talking about the invisibility project of the Philadelphia experiment. Okay, Trinity Pa Sawab Wu Pa Taruk. Truth and the way. Absolutely. Coco Brown Rahubat. Rahubat family from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Okay. Rahubat. I'm grateful for Partner Babyanun. Absolutely, Rahubat. Grateful for you also for spreading wu-sabat. Tawurat. Ken, I would like to, okay, here's a question. Right. Trevor Umbutuma, if I'm pronouncing that properly. We've got a caller. Live. Okay, I'll take the live. Rahubat caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question, please? Rahubat, are you there, caller? Okay, is there a problem with Rahubat caller? Can you hear me? Are you there? All right, I'll take the question here and then we'll come back to that. Yeah, Rahubat Seken or Reye would like to know, there's a confusion that I find myself coming across with. If we were seeded through the dolphins, how did they land here on Earth? They were brought here, just like the Meldekians were brought here, because remember Meldek, the planet, the accident occurred there, and then they were transported here, and given this planet, initially they were in the waters. This is why when we talk about our evolution in terms of, even though the dolphins were transported here and they seeded the planet with our particular DNA from our Natharu, there were beings that were already in the waters, such as the Meldekians, right? Who we then, genetically, remember that we were like in the waters for millions of years as sirens, or what you call mermaids and mermen. So, and there were other aquatic beings, you know, like the big whales and the many beings that are in the seas. But our particular life form, because it was transported here by way of the capsule that was inserted into the dolphins. Remember, the dolphins are not from here. They're originally Vulcan beings from Vulcan. So they were transported here with those DNA genetics from our ancestors, and then they melted those seeds, if I can use that word, in the seas, and then we evolved from there, and we were in the waters evolving, and then eventually came onto land. So yes, the dolphins came from Vulcan. All right, let me go on to the next question. Rahubat, what are you drinking? Oh, thanks for reminding me. I forget sometimes, I need to take a sip. This is Miss Iris Moss. Very refreshing sea moss drink. Gives you a lot of minerals. And we've got it back now, full in stock, because we had an issue with our fridge before, but that's now been resolved. So you can pick it up. Unfortunately, you know, we can't send it abroad, so it's only for those in the local vicinity. They can come to the store and get your supply. Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to have a little bit more. You know when something is so nice that it's like every time I take a sip, it feels like the first time, the first time I had it. And you can literally feel the goodness. Yeah, so thanks for reminding me. Yeah, that's called Miss Iris Moss, and it's available here at Nashap. Right, next question. Saket Ra, I want to thank you again for your donation. Every little helps. Okay, this question, I shook you guys. Why here is the best channel on YouTube. Appreciate love for that. Thank you. Right, so we just, oh yeah, Trevor, I was just reading Acts 13:6-12. Since Bar Jesus means son of Jesus, does that mean that Jesus had a son? Yes, we've broken this down in another video already. If so, who was his wife? Mary Magdalene or Magdala. And also, whose marriage was it that Jesus turned? That was his wedding, the wedding in Cana. Yeah, you're right. Jesus turned water into wine. That was his wedding. That's why go back and read the story, and when you read it now with your eyes open or with nine mind, why don't they tell you whose wedding it was? That's just a very basic question. Like, if you're relaying a story about this wedding that all of a sudden is so significant in the book, that this great person, as you all look at him, has had to go there. Not only was he there, but his mother was there, you know, and other people like dignitaries. Go and read it again, right? Why don't they tell you who the bride is? They're like, there was a wedding and the bride. They don't go into why don't they tell us his name? What's the secret? And then why is he the one everybody's coming to when there's problems, when the wine is running out? Why does he have to provide the wine? When you go to a wedding, it's not your problem. Like, you're a guest if you are a guest. And why is his mother coming to him to say, you know, we're running out of wine, da 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 da. So yeah, that is very blatant. And people say he wasn't married. The word rabbi, because he's referred to as a rabbi, yeah, which is really Rabboni. Rabboni, or someone who is able to teach at a Jewish synagogue, cannot do so unless they're married. And as you go through the story, who was there to rub his feet with oil and all this kind of stuff? yeah, in Jewish law, only your wife can touch your body. So as you read it again, just read it with the mindset that that is his wedding, and you will see the answers very clearly. And like you say, they left words untranslated, like bar, which is son of Jesus. All right, let's move on. Have you seen the documentary they made about wu-sabat and Dr. Malachi Z. York about it? Yeah, we have seen it. I've seen it. What they do every time was supervised when they didn't invite you, since you're on. They will never bring people that are going to debunk their, you know what I'm saying, what they're pushing. And it's like every now and again, they have to spin the same story over and over and over again, because if they realize that it's not working, in order to reinforce the spell, they have to renew it. It's almost like if no one's going to the churches and the synagogues anymore, what are they going to do? They're going to give you a replacement in a way that you're not even suspecting it. So like, for example, the movies they give you. Now, more people will watch a movie and the movie will have the same messages to reinforce the spell, but you're just looking at it as entertainment. I remember years ago when The Matrix first came out, or any movie that is a blockbuster, if you actually start to break it down, you will see that there are messages in there. Like, for example, even though we did like the movie The Matrix, because it was talking about, on the one hand, telling you about the matrix that you're caught up in, right? But on the other hand, if you start to break it down, you're like, Neo, spell Neo backwards, it's like, or you rearrange Neo, you get one, the one. Neo is the one. Then you have Trinity, right? Who's Trinity? Trinity is reinforcing the Trinity. Then you got what? The Zion, the city of Zion. That they, you go through the words, Nebuchadnezzar, that was the name of the ship. Like all these words, like Neo, the one, right? They wouldn't say one, they would say the one. And he's the savior. And what does he look like? Like Jesus with the long hair and, you know what I mean? And again, the great white hope. And as I said, Trinity is obviously the Trinity. Look at the characters. Look at what they're telling you. They're telling you about eating steak. Remember the guy that betrayed everyone? I can't remember his name. But he was like, even though I know this is not steak, what did he say? Ignorance is bliss. And you go through literally every single scene. They talk about the cat. Remember the cat, the deja vu. Like, go back, and I'm talking about the very first one. Obviously, there have been many after that, but that very first one that was just like a hit. It was really very impactful. So yeah, they will then, religion becomes, instead of going to church, movies become religion, or go into a sport where you have two people, two sides competing. You got a big stadium and acoustics of the chanting, and everyone is like, yeah, they just remix things. So they have to constantly, because people saw through the lies that they tried to make about Dr. York. And now that the evidence and the facts and everything's coming out, and more people are waking up, wu-sabat is spreading, they always have to come back with, you know, to reinforce that spell for those who, like, if you just use your true inner being and decipher things, it's like going to the moon. Like the first time, and now they have to reinforce it. And yeah, just go on YouTube and people are like, you see the rocket launching and it literally does that. Do you know what I mean? And you see people, when the rocket is launching, you see the 4 astronauts being taken off. They've got green screens they're using. I'm just saying, this is what people are saying, like scientists and people, they're like, that doesn't make sense. Check this one out. We went to the moon the first time, right? That's what they say. Everyone debunks that because they're looking at it and going, that gravity doesn't work like gravity should work. You're bouncing and like the thing, that buggy they're driving around, how did they get that onto the ship? Who was there to film them arriving? And who was there left behind to film them taking off to come back? And this last one, they take a picture, right? This is how, when you're thinking 9 mind, you just decipher things and be like, okay, you're up to your tricks again. They take a picture of the planet Earth apparently from the rocket ship, right? On the picture, this is what wu-sabat does. You don't see the satellites. That we got millions of satellites that are supposed to be out there, but they've taken a picture from a distance showing the entire planet, but you don't see the stars, you don't see no satellites. So did the satellites just move out of orbit into a hidden place just for the moment, for the picture? It's like, come on, man, like people are not that gullible anymore, you know? So you got to be able to read between the lines. They always remix and come up with the same spell. Why? Because they will say the taxpayers' money is being used for this project. But is it really? They've even found out some of the people, the astronauts, are meant to be actors. One of them was in I think is Mad Max the movie, and somebody else was in another movie. So when you research them, they're actual actors, and every day they use television, to, constantly reinforce the spell. So people are waking up. With that little documentary, they've tried everything. They've made 1 million documentaries to try and defame the master teacher, but nothing they can do or say is gonna wash anymore. People are waking up, all right? So yeah, don't feed the fools. Don't give that and even in that documentary, when you watch it, it's so bait, like, the little sign saying don't go upstairs. Like, it's so bait, but anyway, I don't wanna put too much energy on that. But yeah, we have to do our part, which is spread the innocence of Dr. York. The real conspirators are going to be named and shamed and brought to justice. And we got a lot of material, media-wise, that we need to promote and push so we can clear his name and get him exonerated, because he's coming home. And we're looking forward to that day. So, okay, you've asked me that question about Husum and Toko already. We've kind of broken down already. Not sure what a Nuwapian is. Can you explain? Okay, a Nuwapian is one of the names we go by, and we're known as the Nuwapian Islamic Hebrews, which ties into our family, and it ties into who we are as our composition, because the word Nuwapian or Nuwabian, the root is Nub, and Nub relates to gold, okay, because of the liquid gold in our body, which people call the elixir of life. This is part of the reason why we have the abilities and the powers that we have, and we need that monatomic gold when we transform. But there's a lot more to it. I'm just giving you a quick synopsis. So yeah, we are Nuwabians, because the B and the P are interchangeable, and it's one of the titles that we go by. We have other titles. You hear us saying we're Sabians, Sabians. We're from Napata, Moreau. We are the original people on the planet Earth. Our DNA is where every other being is grafted from or taken from. All right, so that's why we refer to ourselves as Nuwapian. And come inside and you get more. Okay, right, let's move on. We're almost getting through all the questions, which is great. Cover that. Okay, remember, we got a question? Go ahead.
From Instagram.
Yeah.
What is the best diet to have to be in tune with your higher self?
What's the best?
Diet.
Oh, the best diet is live food. A lot of people eat death, and dead things don't give you the nutrition because they're dead. I actually have a mantra that I say. I say things like, I don't eat death because it's bad for my health. I eat life because I will survive. I say little things like that just to constantly remind you. But yeah, being a vegan or plant-based is the best diet because... Sorry, you can tell me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you. See, I know that. The feminine... Yeah, we've got an event coming up. So that's a great question. An event coming up where we're going to go through And it's going to be worldwide, so you can actually tune in like we did with the friendship event. You can tune in and we're going to prepare meals and talk about ingredients and, you know, because when you're transitioning into a vegan or a plant-based diet, if you're not used to it, it's good to work with others who have already done it, you see, because you find, okay, well, how do I replace this? How do I replace that? So we that have already gone through that process, we're able to tell you, because even from just like the seasoning that you use, because seasoning, they will put, you know, animal products in the seasoning, you know, too much salt in the seasoning, sugars. These are the things that are addictive, and we get addicted to them. So even just from like that, we're going to cover how you make your own seasoning, right? You know, people are so used to eating flesh, you know, there are alternatives, you know, the mushrooms, there's certain mushrooms and the way you prepare them. And the cravings will start to subsist after you, because remember, your ancestors, the spirits, are also tied to that, because you might think it's you that's eating that, but it's not. You're feeding them because they still have an attachment to that diet. So it's a process, and you have to know that, like anything else, you have to be disciplined, you have to stick with it, and it gets better and easier. There's loads of vegetables that you may not even have thought about. So when you start to, how you prepare it, like the actual pots and pans that you use, because sometimes you might have good ingredients, but cook them in that, you know what I mean, that pot or pan that is poisonous, and you're just basically undoing the good that you're doing to try and basically improve your health. There's so many aspects, and we're going to cover this in the course. It's going to run over a period of time, so, you know, we're not going to just rush it. We're going to take our time. And by the end of it, you will learn to transition without feeling the pressure. There are times when you should eat, tying into your circadian rhythm. There's the science side of it, as well as the art of it, and the energy as well that you're putting into making these meals. And so there's a lot to that question, but yeah, it's a vegan or plant-based, and to get rid of the flesh. Okay, right, let's keep going. I think this Imani, oh sorry, Miss Iris Moss, founder Imani, Iris, it's very rejuvenating, and I think the more you, yeah, that's another point. Once you transition and you take, you know, natural minerals and juices, you don't snack, and, you know, you don't constantly feel the need to eat. You just know when to eat, and that will last you and give you the energy you need for the day. Okay, let's keep going.
To the last one, last question.
I got a few here.
Oh, go on.
But give me the last question over there, and then I'll cover these and we'll wrap up.
I know how Christianity started, but where did all the different religions come from?
From Abraham, mainly. But before Abraham, because that's the thing as well, people tie the monotheistic religions to Abraham. That's Christianity, Islam, Judaism. But Abraham had a father, you know, Terah, and they were into Zoroastrianism. So you have to go and learn, where did that come from? And that came from the Chaldean, tying into, you know, the beings that, the Anunnaki and all those beings pre the religion. So when you go backwards now, you're going to end up, okay, what's the oldest religion? And most people will tell you it's Hinduism, right? Hinduism goes back to the 200 fallen angels that were cast down to this planet. And so that's the origins of religion. And we, even though we existed before the Hindus, we didn't worship anyone, but we understood nature. So we were basically given gratitude, and we were very like, you know, we knew what the elements did. So we knew the sun was, you know, the giver of life. So we raised our hands to Amun-Ra in ancient Egypt, as the name came through. But it was more like you're one with something. So it's not like you're worshiping it. It's like if you have a friend and you respect each other, you're kind of like gonna help each other, give each other like positive words, you know, encouragement. So we were one with nature, so we knew about water, we knew about the air, we knew about the trees, we knew about the sun, we knew how everything worked well together. So other people who watch us doing that, they thought, oh, they're worshipping rocks or they're worshipping the trees or worshipping. So they started to worship us because of our abilities and the powers and everything that we could do. Till this day, it's other people that put people on a pedestal. And if someone has got an ego or pride and all of these things, then they start to feed off of that energy. And then it's like Chinese whispers or monkey see, monkey do. And everyone, other people just start doing it. And there are experiments that show this. Like if you train people to do something and others come along, they just automatically start doing it as well. And so, yeah, religion has been, spread throughout the world because it was a form of control. All right. So that's where most religions stem from. The Hindus that were worshipping us, and then that just became, something that spread until you got to Abraham and the Anunnaki. Okay, cover that one. Cover that one. Okay, this is Son. Okay, cover that one. All right, this is my question is, this is from Son of Sun again. Should I date a woman who is not aligned with my thought process, which is similar to yours? And if she is hardcore Christian, does it sit right with me? Number one, wu-sabat is not our thought process. Wu-sabat is a culture that we live, right? People say we practice. We don't practice. You don't practice it because it's natural to you and we live it. Okay, so I don't know what you mean by your thought process. You're either in Nuwapian or you're not. And if you're not, then what do you subscribe to? And where did you come from? Were you ever a Christian? And if you were, then you should understand the process that if somebody is a Christian, it's a matter of transition and it's a matter of your good example and not what you say or the talking is what you live. So you lead by example and people will gravitate towards you because the energy and everything that you exude will be something that somebody would naturally draw to. And if you feel that they're never going to be on the same path with you, then there's going to be conflict. So it's your choice. You have to choose wisely and carefully. Then, but if you're that good and that great, you can convert any negative energy to positive, and you should really be able to, by way of the facts and the example, that should be enough. The example you lead, that is. Always a learning, thank you, from Florida. That's Amit Thorkins, 7262, from Florida. Thank you.
One last.
Okay,
from
you keep
Instagram.
saying that. One last.
From Instagram, this last
Go on
one.
then, go on then.
It says, Rahubat, is urine therapy, drinking back your own urine, a forbidden practice?
Yeah, I mean, some things are, Spark used to say on Star Trek, it's illogical because that's the waste. Like everything that goes through your being and comes out, like things come out at certain places because they've gone through a process. And yes, they may be certain enzymes in things, but it's like if you eat food and take the nutrients and everything out of the food that you need, and then you defecate, like, this is what animals like that chew the cud do. They regurgitate and eat the same crap over and over again because their bodies are designed to be able to do that. Like filth can eat filth. But if you're trying to get goodness out of something and get rid or eliminate the bad stuff, then it doesn't make sense to put it back inside your system. So yeah, that people, they come up with all types of practices that may be from a particular, do you know what I mean, culture or whatever, but no, that's not our way, yeah? People always think that, let me just quickly scan through, okay? People always think, this is from Trevor, people always think that I am talking about a mythical being when I say what took place at his birth and that he's still alive. Yeah, that's because of religion and the, you know, the TV and all of that, because what people call miracles back then are no longer miracles today. So it's just knowing the power. It even gets even worse when I say he has 76 trillion years of knowledge. They think I'm crazy, but I then ask them, who ever wrote more than 1,000 books in the history of man? Exactly. Not only that, think about it. How much information, think about this, if you put all the information on the planet together, how many years of information would that be? Are you itching to ask me a question?
Just an Instagram one.
Go on then.
It says on Instagram, hi there, my question, what is the best way to communicate with our ancestors?
Again, we have all this already within our culture, and we have rituals that tell you exactly how to do it. I also emphasize a lot that people want to stay outside and come and get our jewels, if you like, and you know, stay outside and practice them. It's all about your intentions and your ancestors as well. They will know, like, you're not, if you're not doing what they're asking of you to do, of us to do, things are not going to work the way that it may work for somebody else. So we tell you exactly what to do. You get an altar and we do certain things, you know, white cloth, we put certain things there, we communicate and we speak with them. Join the Telegram group if you haven't done so already, if you're new and you're just joining, because we carry on the conversation. They don't stop after we come off live. You know, this is 24/7 for us, yeah? What are your views on the quantum financial system? Again, big fancy words, but we, you know, it's, you know, they're getting into quantum computers now, because if you really think about it, the financial system is changing and evolving, and you're dealing with a global system now. And when you're dealing with like, you know, what we call the blockchain and things like that, it means you, one person, can reach a big market, a worldwide market of 8 billion people. So even if you only got 1 pence from 1 million people around the world, that's substantial. So a lot of the systems are based on technology, based on blockchain, based on quantum computing, based on the fact that you're dealing with digital money. Digital money can be subdivided. So a bit, like 1 bit from bytes, a bit in mathematical terms can be subdivided. Let me make that make sense, because it sounds complicated. If you took 1 penny from your pocket in the UK, we say 1 pence. I don't know what you guys say in America, 1 cent. 1 cent is only 1 cent in the physical form, or 1 penny is only 1 penny. In the digital sense, 1 penny can be composed of 1 million tiny, tiny little bits. So it basically, when you're dealing with quantum, you're subdividing and making things smaller to the point where, as I said, you can generate wealth quite easily if you know what you're doing. Yeah. So if I'm able to do something that can reach 8 billion people worldwide and is digital, and I can get £1 from 8 billion people, you see how rich I am. That's a quick synopsis on that. Dr. Sakane, I would like you to share some knowledge about the moon. It is very fascinating subject. I really need to know more about what's going on in the moon. Sometimes it appears small and bigger. Yeah, we can, but you have to tune in next week, next Tuesday. It's artificial, but we're gonna go into more detail next week, same time, same place. The only place to be, OSM Vision, because our souls matter. So we want to thank everyone who has participated in today's Ask Us Anything, for all those who join our Telegram group, our WhatsApp group, our classes that we have every week. So this Saturday, we have classes. We have classes every Saturday and every Tuesday. And we have the videos constantly coming out. So we have events. We have events. We have, I can't see it. Do you want me to take it? Just give it to me. I'll see what it is. Okay. Oh yeah, the workshop. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, this I mentioned it before. We already have a flyer for it. Each One Teach One workshop. Part 1 will be starting Saturday, May the 30th. And that will be from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we will share this in our Telegram group and other groups. That's why we keep saying join the groups, because like it's easier to just put information in one place for everyone than to try and send it to 1,000 different places, but we still do. So get yourself plugged in. This is the channel that matters, and you know, this is the way we're going to come together and we're going to free Partner Babyanun, and that's going to be such a beautiful occasion for us to celebrate. So until next week or this Saturday, Wadu Moisar.